site plan from the Golden Park. This is from 2001, but it does show you where the project is. And the entries to the garden, which are at this end, and the friend gate here, and then the muir gate right here, which is where school buses will drop off so the children can walk into the facility. This is the site plan that we showed in phase 2, and it's still, because it's so simple compared to the working drawings. This is the muir gate. People can walk in along here. This is the main entry right here. This is the vehicular entry, which is only for service vehicles. This is our fire truck hammerhead. We have one ADA parking space right here. And the site plan is really divided into 3 zones. There's this work yard, which is where all the turnarounds and parking are. There's a learning court at the arrival. And then we have 2 areas of growing grounds, one in the southeast and one in the northwest. And there's a path that skirts the project and takes you on out to the children's garden. This is the current site plan. There are a few minor things that changed in the site plan. As we looked through the Mayor's Office of Disability, they wanted the accessible path made very clear. We had 4 larger cisterns because we're doing rainwater collection, and we have 4 smaller ones. We now have 2 larger ones here and another cistern there. The bike racks, which were on the west side, are now moved over here near the parking area. We have another change. Previously, for our on-site energy generation, we had a gasification boiler, which we decided it was a wood-fired boiler, and we decided that really wasn't the right thing to use. And so now we have photovoltaics on the roof as an add alternate for on-site energy generation. Otherwise, the site plan, very, very little has changed since you saw the project. One thing that we've been looking at fairly recently, and we're kind of excited about this change and wanted to show it to you. This is the drawing from phase 2. And in the northwestern growing grounds, we had a retaining wall in order to get the growing grounds larger. And then we have a bioswale between the retaining wall and the path. And we've been looking recently. We have a contractor on board, and we've been going through constructability review and going back to the gardeners and the garden staff and saying, well, if the garden growing grounds were a little bit smaller, the fence was previously out here, we could pull it in, and rather than having a retaining wall, we could slope the ground in a 2-to-1 slope down to the bioswale, which provides a buffer between the path and the fence, and it actually lessens the size of the growing ground and lessens the amount of fencing. And so we think this is a really kind of, it's one of those things these are the previous drawings where we have the retaining wall with the fence sitting on top. This is the northern side. This is as you turn the corner on the west. So this overall height was about 10 feet. It was something we always felt a little bit uncomfortable with, and through constructability review and conversations programmatically with the garden, we've recently changed that so that in the new proposal we have the fence, and then we have a slope that will be planted in a kind of reconstruction of the Franciscan dune landscape that was originally in the park. So again, on the south, we have a slope down to the path, and on the west, we have a slope that would be planted. So we think this is an improvement, and it's also more constructible. Looking at the 2 renderings, this is the earlier rendering, where from a vantage point out on Martin Luther King Jr. Way, looking into the site, you could see the retaining wall and you could see the fence. And the new proposal, that slope, there's no longer the retaining wall. Now it's a planted slope, and because the growing grounds are smaller, the fence is pulled in and doesn't extend to the west quite as much. And this is a plant palette for the slope, again, restoration of the San Franciscan dune landscape. Moving on to the building, which has also changed very little. I'll try to kind of orient you and update you at the same time. The building is basically organized in 3 parts. There's a head house, which has a green roof. There's the greenhouse and the shade house. And the head house is a place for office space, restrooms for the public, and then there's a large common area where the volunteers can meet and work, and the gardeners have a potting area where they work inside. We have a greenhouse, it's about 2,800, and the shade house, it's about 2,800 square feet, and the house is about 4,300 square feet. The drawings we showed you previously, the exterior elevations, this is the north elevation, which has changed very little. I'll show you the update in a second. The green roof, we have wood, the whole building it's a wood structure, and because it's a Botanic Garden Arboretum, we wanted to showcase the use of wood and use the building for educational purposes as much as we could. We just go into so this is what we showed you before. These are the current from the working drawings. The things that did change, we have a gap for our wheelchair in the benches where a wheelchair can pull in. Our exhibit is pulled over just a little bit because we have a brace frame right here on the inside. We now have photovoltaics as an add alternate up in this area of the roof that gets a fair amount of sun. And then on the shade house, this door used to be around the corner on the south, and now it's moved to the east elevation. So as you can see, the changes are very minor, and we've really been able to stay the course and keep things on track. On the south elevation, this is what we showed you before. Not much has changed here either. This bench, which was concrete, is now wood. It's probably the main change that one would notice. We have a few more vents up on the wall as we've had to sort of work out some of the venting on the interior. And on the west elevation, rather than a transom, we have the doors taller. On the other structures, the shade house, this is the south elevation. As I said before, we used to have 4 smaller cisterns, now we have 2, and the water from these sides of the roof is piped to these cisterns. The shade house is, its sides are mesh, and we have you can see the sample board here. The roof is polycarbonate, and it has rolled up mesh shades, several layers of shades on the side, so that they can control the amount of sun that gets into it. The north end of the greenhouse, we used to have a double door here, now we have a single door. And we used to have glass going all the way to the ground, and now we have aluminum panels. On the east side of the greenhouse, we've added a utility sink. So these are all just very simple development sort of changes. This is the section of the roof that's really designed for daylighting, with the green roof coming down lower toward the outdoor learning court, the photovoltaics on the roof. And we, again, both on the interior, this is the interior panel as well, we've tried to showcase the use of woods in these various natural and sort of reconstituted ways. This is the palette for the exterior. This is the primary siding, which is a cedar siding that's stained. There's some secondary siding elements that are slightly different profile and slightly different color. We have painted wood. We have sunshades, which are wood, and then we have these are the materials for the shade house, the roll-down shades, which sit behind a 1x1 woven wire mesh, and which is here. Sorry, and then this is the fence material, which is woven wire mesh, which will be left to rust. So that is pretty much the update. I really did just focus on what's changed. I can answer any questions.